Scenarios in my head played out over and over again of me snapping someone's neck, punching them.
I was really convinced I was a really bad person. I had no understanding of what was going on in my mind.
Every 10 seconds, I had an intrusive thought popping into my head, and it went on for months.
I thought, oh, it'll go away, it's just a thing. Didn't go away.
I'm Alison, and I've had pure and OCD for 16 years. A lot of the things that I think about are violent. So I'll think about shouting things out, hitting someone, pushing them down the stairs. I'll be sitting in the passenger side of my mum's driving, and I can see my hand on the steering wheel, and I can see myself steering the car into oncoming traffic. And it's like it's almost already done. I have a funny kind of experience with unwanted thoughts, because at first, when I didn't know what intrusive thoughts were, I thought they were terrible. I thought they were absolutely terrible. I don't really want to push my mum down the stairs. Like, a part of me is so sure that that's what needs to happen and that I'm going to do it. A lot of people would be shocked with the way that I sometimes talk to my mum. I'll say to her, I really want to push you downstairs. I really want to hit you. I really want to snap your neck. And she's like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's okay. Cool, nice. Anyway, what's for dinner? What are you cooking? Da, da, da. I know she's really tired of it. And sometimes she'll play along.
These thoughts are what we call inconsistent with their values, and therefore they are ridiculous and absurd to the individual. And therefore they do not get any gratification from them or pleasure. They're extremely distressing to the individual, and they're spending their life trying to get rid of them or control them.
Everyone has intrusive thoughts. Most people, when waiting for a train, might have thought, what happens if I stepped out in front of it? Someone might be cutting something up with their kitchen knife, and they might suddenly realise it would actually be incredibly easy to just stab someone with this. A person with pure O might dwell on that thought more than average. They might be concerned that says something about them.
You'll have a thought, you'll go over it and over it and over it and over it. It could be absolutely anything, and it is just thinking, but thinking constantly and at that pace, it makes you exhausted.
Pure O is a term used by sufferers to describe symptoms of obsessive-compulsive disorder where people experience intrusive thoughts, images, urges, doubts inside their mind, which are extremely distressing. Well, common obsessional thoughts and worries might be around sex and violence or religious themes. So, for example, in a sexual obsessions, it might be the fear that you're a paedophile when you're not, or that you're going to push people in front of the train.
My name is Kirk Stacey. I am a self-employed illustrator. OCD likes different themes to torture its host with. With the religious stuff, you get a lot of guilt. Don't say this, don't go there, don't do that. If I thought of a joke and laughed, oh, that's rude, you can't say that. You have to say sorry to God, otherwise he will punish you. So I was a religious person, even though I wasn't religious. I think the images were just a flicker of a thought. It was a person in a white gown. There was another one, was the crucifix. There was another one, image of the Pope or Christ. They flash, bang, it's there and it's out. It's like a knife goes in, it comes out. You've got this overwhelming anxiety and also guilt. You feel guilty for having these thoughts that you cannot control. I felt that that was the torture I deserved for having a thought in the first place. So you're trapped in this cycle.
The point being, it's not your fault, and there are lots of things that then shape you during childhood and adolescence, but there is nearly always various triggers or things that are associated with the onset. Not always, but quite often.
My name's Nathan, I'm 24 and I'm from Hertfordshire. I think what happened when I was about 11, my nan died. I became so worried that I would lose my mum that I had these obsessive thoughts about her dying. And I remember I would just constantly ask her if she was okay. She got really irritated because I was just asking her too much. Like, nobody wants to be asked the same question again and again and again. The thought of my mum dying terrified me, so I had no understanding of what was going on in my mind. I eventually began to realise that there was something a bit weird about the way I was thinking. Obviously, at the time that I never knew what OCD was, I didn't associate that with OCD. That's only something that I've recently realised. It was there at quite a young age, been there a lot longer than I thought it was.
My history goes back 25 years. The trigger for me, secondary school, was myself and a few friends who went to the local newsagent to get some snacks. And I saw one of my friends, as he walked in, grab some pick and mix and shoved it in his pocket. And I thought, that's how easy it is. Well, I'll have a crack and I can show off to my friends. As I came out, hey guys, look what I've got. The store detective was walking in the shop and she heard it. Did you steal those? I was marched in the shop. And I think he said, well, this is really bad. The police are going to go to your house, have a word with your parents. They may have to go to your school. And it just weighed on me with all these threats. And I thought then, my mates had probably used to spread it like wildfire. As a result, I became kind of school phobic. The more they try to push you against that fear, the more it affects you. It's really, really a sad time that one incident could create such a traumatic effect.
The area I live in, super quiet, nothing happens, but I just feel like someone's going to jump out. Everyone is a danger. Everyone is violent. Everyone could kill me. I might hurt somebody else if they attack me. That's kind of my big thing at the moment, is that every second I'm calculating what's a weapon that I can use to protect myself with. I last left the house Christmas Eve, so from Christmas Eve until 12th of January, but it's not felt strange, it's just felt safe. I really hate the beginning of the year because I think, wow, it's another year that I've not changed or I've not progressed. Other people are doing it, so why am I still here struggling?
Yeah, the first time seeing my GP, I said, I thought I was going blind. And then for some reason I convinced myself I was developing schizophrenia, which my uncle has schizophrenia, so a kind of genuine worry, if you will, that didn't pluck itself out of nowhere. Like I had a reason. There was kind of some substance, I guess, to that obsession. I literally would just stay in the bed with the laptop for 2 weeks. There's no use trying. My parents would try and get me up and things. I just kind of have to be left alone. I'm not gonna be able to function. You just kind of have to leave me. But they were just worried. They were kind of realising there was something wrong.
What healthy people without OCD experience are exactly the same content as the intrusive thoughts that occur in OCD. The content is the same, but the problem in pure O is the meaning that you attach to them. Perhaps thinking these things means that I might act upon them, or that I'm immoral for having these thoughts, or the way that you respond to them, control them, or avoid them, or suppress them. All these things feed the obsession.
2003, I had a really bad ear infection. It just felt like someone was sticking a red-hot needle in there. I was diagnosed with a cholesteatoma, which is like a tumour, and inside it destroys the inside of the ear, and left untreated, it can invade the brain and cause meningitis, that kind of stuff. And they arranged an operation, but we have to be careful not to hit the facial nerve, otherwise the side of your face would drop. I thought, well, I'll put the operation on hold because I didn't like the idea of going into hospital and being knocked out. And that became a silly little fear, and it grew. You're dead, you're a dead man. The cholesteatoma now has spread to the other ear. It's taken my hearing down. I've got white noise in both ears. When it gets near the point of, your operation's next week, I knew it would be the death of me because I would not be able to surpass it or overcome it.
Cognitive behaviour therapy includes exposure and ritual prevention. In other words, it's about trying to test out your fears, developing a different relationship to your thoughts, that these are just your own inner world and you cannot control them.
You allow the thoughts to be there, but you don't necessarily have the exact same reaction.
So you end up pulling it apart and figuring out a way of discerning what are authentic concerns versus what's done by OCD.
Combined with the medication, that's how I get through the day, get through life.
My first encounter with CBT was on the NHS. It was in a basement of a 4-storey building. I used to look up the building regulations of any building that I went into. I would check out their fire stuff, like when the last time they had a fire check was, like when the last time that the gas person was there. It was in the basement. This room was tiny. It had no windows. I couldn't help but feel like there wasn't enough air in there for the both of us. He had a shirt that didn't fit, that bothered me. His hair was not combed, that bothered me. He was like really red-faced. There were far too many things for me to think about to actually credit that person that was in front of me. I had no respect for him whatsoever. There's a possibility that I wasn't really ready to listen to anything that I felt was wrong, that how I was living wasn't great for me. And so I feel like I deflected a lot of my anger and the way that I was really feeling about my situation onto that person.
ERP, which stands for Exposure Response Prevention. It's about exposing yourself to that which you fear. So say you were completely avoiding knives, you didn't even want to see one. You might go towards starting to use the knife for its intended purpose, perhaps using the knife around other people by exposing themselves to the very uncomfortable anxiety. You don't stay in that state of high anxiety forever. It will eventually start to go down.
So the last time I had gone to A&E by myself, that was when I was convinced that I was both a psychopath and I think a narcissist. And it's just the process of having to go up to that desk and then tell the person what's going on with you. And then you go and see somebody and there's nothing they can do. Their only concern is to work out whether or not you're either a danger to yourself or to the public. And if you're not, and then they send you off on your own as well, which is a really quite horrible experience. I kind of feel like they should have specific sections in A&E departments for mental health issues, which I'm sure they probably do at some hospitals, but never one that I've been to.
Many people it can be cured. For some people it can only be managed, and for some people it's a struggle.
When I had Puro, mine was incredibly severe. I couldn't do anything else, and it was incredibly scary. It still does occasionally pop up, but it doesn't make me afraid. In fact, it really has no effect whatsoever. So it will pop up, and then maybe I won't have it anymore for the next couple of days. There's always been this big debate whether you cure or you manage. It depends what you consider to be cured.
I'm a complete nihilist. Yeah, I don't know if I'm hopeful. I just get on with life. I have all these things I want to get done with my life. I think hope is a wasted energy. You know, I just take things as they come. It's not going to go anywhere, I don't think. I think it's too embedded in my personality. Not my personality, but my brain, whatever. I don't think it's going to go away.
When I look back at the old me, I feel sorry for that person who was in the bubble. You have to convince part of your brain that you can beat this thing.
It's about exposure. I have to expose myself to the spikes in anxiety, expose myself to the intrusive thoughts, and live anyway, live through them, not around them, which I'm really good at doing.
You can create a structure where you can survive it. I'm happy that I'm actually creating artwork and selling it, and I'm taking commissions. I'm happy now.
If you want to change something, you have to actively make changes. To be too afraid to make the changes is just accepting that where you are now is perfectly fine for you, which is not. So I have to do stuff like walk around the block, understanding that someone isn't going to jump out from the bushes and try and attack me. If you do something enough and you sort of like retrain your brain, then you should really like rewrite like your neural pathways, basically. I should be able to rewrite the story in my head.